Been retired long as you've been working almost now.
Let us bring the Spartanburg, South Carolina City Council meeting to order. We're going to stand for a moment of silence and be led by the pledge. Just remember those in Texas that lost lives as well as in our community as well. Just keep those families in your thoughts.
Amen.
Mayor Pro Tem, you mind leading us?
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I do want to make mention that Councilwoman Megan Smith is watching online. She's not in the state. Also, we have item 3. Feedback, this is loud. We have item 3. Approval of the minutes for the June 23rd, 2025 City Council meeting.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any that oppose? Ayes have it. Item 4, approval of the agenda for the July 14th, 2025 City Council meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any that oppose? Ayes have it. We have a few public comment for item 5. The way public comment works, I'm gonna call your name, you come up, give us your address, and give us your name, your address, and start your comments. We are strict on our 2 minutes. You have 2 minutes for your public comments. All right, and the bell will go off, and I will ask you to please take your seat afterwards. So we will start with Kimberly Branch. Come to the mic.
Good evening. I'm Kimberly Branch. Live at 445 Old Leonard Road, Woodruff, South Carolina. And I'm a lifetime resident of Spartanburg. And I have learned that information about there's a possibility that the Spartanburg downtown clock tower may be moved or relocated, removed or relocated. And I have started a petition, and I would like to present that. There's 1,452 signers that are opposed to the clock tower being moved or relocated. Also, since it's part of the bicentennial committee, I did send emails to the committee, the council committee, to consider the South Carolina Heritage Act when making a decision about it. This one was actually, yes. And then just consideration of students and residents did raise money to help fund the clock. So I believe that that should be something that residents should be able to vote on, whether it's removed or not. And that's all I have.
All right. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
And we will definitely follow up with you. Tony Eubanks.
Hello, my name's Tony Eubanks. I reside at 124 Guernsey Lane in Spartanburg, South Carolina as an address, but it's actually located in Roebuck. Previously, as a child, I grew up in Boiling Springs. So the reason I'm here today is also to support the clock tower staying where it's at, as is, where it is. So many of the residents in Spartanburg, as children, raised money as a community, not as just a local group, but as a complete community. Something that I had never seen done before. As of now, it's still something we don't see done very much at all. It's the whole community getting together to organize one specific project and everything. As I was looking through some of the past news information, I came across an article in 2024 where Councilman Fulmer also stated that he would appreciate that the clock stay similar to as is, or we still used it as a part of our history, and that was in the Post-Courier. Also, yesterday, I was sitting watching TV, and it amazed me that all of a sudden an ad from Stewart Law Firm came on. And Stewart Law Firm actually shows the clock tower in one of their ads. That was on the 13th, and it was around, I think it was around 7 o'clock on WSPA. Also, many of you may not get out into Spartanburg area very much to see some of the local stores and everything, but around Christmas time especially, if you're out for Dickens of a Christmas, you'll see a lot of the Christmas balls and handbags and many things like that, some of the prints that have the clock tower on it. And to me, that's just another symbol of how important it is to our community. One of the other things that I want to point out is
Mr. Eubanks, I'm sorry, that's your 2 minutes.
That's okay, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Wesley Stoddard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. My name is Wesley Stoddard. I live at 547 Glendale Avenue here in Converse Heights. I've been a lifelong resident of Spartanburg. I was the assistant city attorney for 11 years ago. My father, Bob Stoddard, was mayor for 3 terms. And here's a picture of him wearing his colonial outfit when he presided at the dedication of the clock tower.
Wow.
In 1976, he was chairman of the bicentennial for Spartanburg County. And he was really active. We had 1,000 people come to the auditorium for dinner celebrating the Battle of Cowpens reenactment. And he presided wearing his Revolutionary War outfit. My mother made him one. Butte Knitting Mills made him one. And the 3rd Maryland Regiment brought him a uniform. So he had 3 different outfits to wear. And he would go to schools, get on a horse, and tell them about the history of Daniel Morgan. But he came to City Hall and said, the clock's been sitting in storage since 1958 when they built the new courthouse. So for over 20 years, the clock was not being used. And so my dad presented to council, why don't we come up with the idea of bringing the clock back, letting the school kids raise the money. So 20,000 school kids donated, grew up to $10,000 to build the clock tower. A lot of history for Spartanburg. What other city do you know of that has an icon of a clock tower? None. You watch television like we were seeing. I can't believe how many ads I see. Spectrum, everybody, they show the clock tower. Spartanburg is unique that way. I can't think of a reason you would tear it down. The cost from the taxpayer standpoint. My office is on Magnolia. I've been practicing law since 1975, right in front of the courthouse. I've lived in Converse Heights all my life. I can't tell you how many people have spoken to me the last few weeks. Now, please tell council, save the clock tower. Thank you so much for your time and consideration.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Don Bramlin.
Mr. Mayor, council members, my name's Don Bramlett, and I have a very personal interest in the clock tower. I remember when Frank Allen initiated the project to try to, the county was going to throw the clock away. It was down in the basement of the courthouse, and they needed room for storage. And so the word got around to the city, and Frank Allen took charge and started all the things that other people have talked about children raising money and all. And I remember it was first up at Liberty Street in East Main, and then it was moved down to its current position. I was a contract electrician for Griffin Gear in Roebuck, and they did all the maintenance on the clock tower, and because I was an electrician and there was a lot of electrical parts in there, I got up in there several times with their people, the Griffin Gear people, and worked on different parts of it. One of the things that keeps the maintenance expenses high for the clock tower is having all four faces work, because it initially only had 3 faces when it was on the very old courthouse, and they built that 4th face and tried to tie everything in there together, and coordinating all that has always been a costly project. So, you know, if we could save it and then reduce the cost by either just having 1 face or just have 2 faces opposite each other, so it's real easy to coordinate that would keep the expense down if that is an issue with it. I know people change, and you know, generations change, and some people just don't see a purpose for it now, but there's a lot of people around Spartanburg that have real good memories of it. And one thing I want to say was, I don't mind if you move it, because there's a lot, Spartanburg's a big place, and there's a lot of places that it could be put, and they would have green space around it.
Okay, Mr. Brown.
All that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Sorry,
I was trying to let you finish that last little bit. And I do appreciate all the comments concerning the clock tower. I know Councilman Former's name is inside the clock tower, along with my name is inside the clock tower. So it is near and dear. This is not something we just, you know, don't think about. So thank you all for your comments. Item 6, we have award of bids for the 2025 City Street Safety Improvement. Mr. Jay Squires, Public Works Director.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Background, so staff received bids for the 2025 City Streets Safety Improvements. It's a kind of tongue-tied on that one, but work entails more or less redoing or installing some thermoplastic. That's the double yellow lines and some white lines, the skips and so forth. One bid was received, that was HRH Engineering Services out of Bowling Springs for $106,689.75. We are asking council to allow staff to review the bids, or staff review the bids, but allow council to allow staff to accept the bids and authorize city manager to enter a contract with HRH Engineering for the completion of the project. The project will be paid for by Spartanburg County Transportation Committee.
Only one bid? That's just kind of my concern. Just any particular reason, Jay?
Yes, sir. So it's a very specialized project. It's like I said, it's the thermoplastic. There's a lot of, it's a small project, and a lot of these contractors are dealing with DOT work. But what's so ironic is the contractor who looked at it was Peak. Peak does a lot of the work for DOT, big. They did the West Main project as well for Sossaman, but HRH was the only responsive bidder for that. So that's what we have.
Any other questions?
Jay,
Councilman Brown?
How long is our list in the city?
For some of these projects?
Yeah.
So what we've looked at for these, if you look at the, we included sort of just a breakdown of those roadways. So what we want to do is kind of coordinate with some of them, like with the rail trail. So like the Marion Avenue, if you look at the rail trail and how that corresponds with, you know, with that pedestrian traffic, that's what we're trying to accomplish here and put those things in place. A lot of these crossings are where, you know, we want to make sure, let me give you a little background. So thermoplastic is different from paint because it's reflective, right? So during those early morning hours where these people are crossing these streets and so forth, especially on the trails, it reflects so you can see it better. But what we're doing, since the city of Spartanburg, we encourage, you know, doing the speed limit. So anything under 35, technically you don't have to have double yellow lines, all right? If you look at the majority of the city streets. So some of these streets that we put on there, like, you know, more, I'll give you an example. Like Sherwood, that's a kind of a misnomer. It's really Woodburn Road. DOT, so the city has some of Woodburn Road and DOT has the rest of it. If you look what the state did, is they put double yellow lines from all the way from Country Club all the way down to where the city's, our section starts at Connecticut. So we want to encourage that double yellow in addition to where it's the proximity to Pine Street School as well. So we do have some of those, and we encourage, what we do is when we do a resurfacing, if it has a double yellow or any of the white striping, we put it back with the contract.
So is this, these particular roads, is this street markings or is this total resurfacing in addition to street markings?
These, the ones that we listed first, the safety, that's just for, that's the street markings. Like Gardner Road would be all we're doing is put in the double yellow line back there. It's painted now, but we want to put the thermoplastic in because of the proximity of all those apartments that were built there. There is a huge influx of pedestrian traffic and for vehicular traffic too as well.
And the condition of these roads are in, I mean, I'd say fair. There are a lot of roads in the city that need just a total redo, in my opinion, but to ensure that we're not doing the street markings and then a year or two from now, the roads have just finally have made it up the list to be resurfaced, only then for us to spend money to resurface and then, you know, sort of do this all over again.
Yes, ma'am. So we're looking at those road conditions to make sure, because what would happen is if we're doing that, we want to look at the OCI rating for that pavement index. Yes, we look at that, but the roads on here are in good condition. They just need some kind of safety improvements done.
Thank you.
So Jay, I'm glad to see District 4 well represented on your list. I appreciate that. Specifically as it relates to Sherwood Circle and Boyd, I mean, that's obviously a tricky area, very sharp curve or curves, and there are some speed tables there. One of the things throughout the city, but also throughout, you know, a lot of the neighborhoods in District 4, we see the speed humps, the painting on those humps, the identifying markers has faded a good bit. Two-part question, as part of this thermoplasting, will that include the speed humps that are along that stretch of road? And then two, what's our plan for addressing the lack of markings on some of the others that have aged and the paint has faded?
So yeah, those chevrons will be completed. Once we touch it, we bring it back up to those standards as well. The second question, so as everybody's well aware of, if you look at like the County Transportation Committee is completely funding this. So we, with the availability of the 1 cent now, these projects will be more projects we're going to kind of accomplish in the near future as well.
Okay, and I know the portion of Sherwood Circle / Woodburn Road that the city maintains is in good shape, but if you get past that, Woodburn Road from, say, Connecticut Avenue to Country Club Road is a landmine of potholes and inconsistent surface. Do we have any insight into when the state's going to address their portion of Woodburn Road?
We can check on that. They are in a big, I mean, as far as everybody understands about like Country Club Road. So their lettings are a little bit, with availability of these resources now, as far as paving is concerned, the availability of contractors that are available to get it done has kind of, not that it's shrunk, but we're trying to encourage those. Long story short, they are working on that. We'll get an idea of when they're going to accomplish that in the near future.
Okay, I mean, short of a complete resurfacing, I think at least, at the very least, there should be some repair work done on some of those existing, potholes. And probably a lot of that happened as a result of the storm. But if you drive that, that route, it's a rattler. So I would appreciate any attention to that.
So Jay, you're saying that, because I can't really see this, even with my glasses on, I can't see it. But the county is going to do the same thing as the marking, because they are paying for this. When you get out, like on John B. White, especially at Blackstock Road, and trying to turn on, not Ezel, but on John B. White, you can't see it at night. So are they going to be doing the markings for that as well?
The County Transportation Committee, so as everybody, the city has a seat at that table, along with the Spartanburg County and DOT. Those are projects that each entity would need to, kind of put those projects in front of the group. I would assume that, John B. White's going to be resurfaced. It's on the Tier 1, from what I remember, as far as those projects are concerned, with the 1 cent. So when that happens, they will completely redo all of the thermoplastic and those stripes as well.
Go, Councilman Farmer, she's okay.
I was just gonna add, so I went back and I just noticed, so obviously I assume the bulk of the funds are paid by the SPATs, or the County Transportation Committee, but you also mentioned general funds. What portion of that will be paid from our general fund?
On the first one here for the safety improvements, all of that's through county transportation funds.
Okay. Oh, right. Okay, sorry. Yeah, okay. So I'll hold my question for phase 2, where you can incorporate that in.
So you know what's coming, Jay.
Response. Yeah. All right, I looked at the wrong page.
Any other questions? Do I hear a recommendation?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the recommendation.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any that oppose? Ayes have it. We have items 6, 7, award bids to the 2025 street resurfacing. Mr. Jay Squires, Public Works Director.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, along those same lines, so we're looking at, the resurfacing. This should be just phase 1. So we'll have another phase 2 coming with this as well. So with that said, we received 4 bids for the 2025 phase 1. Cherokee Grading and Landscaping out of Gaffney was the responsive low bidder at $821,938.18. The other 3 were there as well. Parking Lot Pros at $858, $194. Brad Pace Construction at $888, $834.70, and Civil Pros at $852, $926.48. The good thing about this, those spreads are very close together, so it looks like we've got some really good competitive bids with that. So staff reviewed the bids, and based on the review, staff has determined that Cherokee Grading and Landscaping is a responsive low bidder. This project should take at least 60 days, barring kind of weather events and so forth. They'll have detour routes, flag persons there during the construction phase as well. We would ask council to allow us to accept the bids and let the city manager enter into a contract with Cherokee Grading and Landscaping for the completion of the project. And from what Mr. Fulmer says, so $821,938, half of it's coming from Spartanburg County Transportation Funds, and then the other half is coming from general funds with the city. What I would say about Cherokee Grading and Landscaping, it's kind of a misnomer. It's grading and landscaping, but they were the ones who completed the project for the West Main project for Sossaman. So we've had some experience with them. They did a great job with that project.
Great. You just knocked one of my questions out. Have we had any experience with them?
Yes.
My next question is John B. White. Remember the last time John B. White was resurfaced, we used some type of material that wasn't a good grade.
It's a DOT project, and I'd say that they don't do it the good way. So technically, it was sort of it was not resurfaced. It was It was brought up to a standard with a technique that they're using to kind of bridge from the condition to when they're ready to resurface. So they haven't really they haven't resurfaced John B. White yet.
Okay.
When it happened a few years back, so.
So, but this will be a resurface?
This will be a complete resurface.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Question?
Just to confirm, the CTC funds is part of the penny tax, correct?
So the 2020, when we say 2025, these are technically holdovers from 23 and 24. Before the $25 road fee money went away, and before the 1 cent was fully funded by 2025. So these are roads that we had looked past, the engineering department had looked at from previous years to be put on the radar. So they had already went to CTC with these roads, all right? So these are just roads that we haven't completed from 23 and 24.
So any new roads that are post-penny tax referendum
Yes.
would be fully paid for under the because that's a lot of pennies.
Yes,
We just got a
we
very
wouldn't have a
nice
map.
new courthouse through all of that, so that should be able to fund those projects,
Yes, ma'am.
correct?
It would,
Okay.
yes.
And Jay, and to that point, if my memory doesn't fail me, we have all those roads already identified with the penny.
We have some projects that we have identified with those, but we're still submitting roads for completion of resurfacing based on the OCI rating. So what we're doing now is we're going in and grading every road in the city of Spartanburg to get an overall condition index. That helps us prioritize which roads get resurfaced first.
Okay.
All right. So we are doing that in addition to other Tier 1 and Tier 2 and Tier 3 projects that were submitted to the voters back when we were doing the referendum.
Councilwoman Littlejohn.
Yes, Jay. I know that Union Street is not a part of this. However, I am wondering, go with the penny tax, and go cover Union Street, once all of that work is done on Union Street.
Yes, ma'am. So Spartanburg Water is doing the water line upgrade. The reason they're doing it now is because Union Street is set to be resurfaced really by the fall of 2025. So that was the reason they wanted to get out in front of that, because that whole road would be completely resurfaced after they complete their project.
Great, thank you.
And technically, that's not funded through the one cent. That is a state project.
Thank you.
And Jay, is this the last batch of resurfacing projects that will predate the penny sales tax?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And then to Ruth's point about Union Street, I know there's been some email traffic in the past about safety enhancements along Union Street as we resurface. I hope we work with our state partners to make sure that there's some significant improvements made to those crosswalks, down Union Street, particularly because of their proximity to the trail for the neighborhoods that are near it in both Ruth's district and my district. And then for these affected residents, do we send them, and for their benefit, do we send them any kind of advance mailing notice letting them know what to do with their cars, particularly like on cul-de-sacs, how access will be restricted and what to expect?
So what we do is we have the door hangers. In addition to that, we have the boards too that we set out there 24 hours beforehand. If we're going to start Monday, we'll bring them out there on Friday or so forth. So we understand that we parking is it's an issue sometimes on some of these streets, right? Sure. So we always give advance notice, painstakingly give advance notice with that process to make sure they understand what's going on.
Okay, so they should expect something coming to their homes
Yes, sir.
at the appropriate time.
Any other questions? Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion, we accept the bid from Cherokee Grading and Landscaping.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any that oppose? Ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 8, boards and commission appointments. Presenter, Ms. Christy Lindsay, City Clerk.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm before you this evening with some appointment recommendations that we have received, so I would like to present those for your consideration. If you're okay, we'll do like we did last time. We'll just go through all of them, and then you all can make a motion and vote on all of them. For the Board of Zoning and Appeals, the recommendation is to reappoint Mrs. McKay Moore. A new appointment would be Brandon Harris and Dr. Midas Hampton. For the Design Review Board, the committee is recommending Danny Ballin be appointed to that board. The Civil Service Commission, they are recommending Marjorie Jones be appointed to that board. And then last is for the Architectural Review and Design Board. There is an unexpired term for 2 years, and they are recommending Dr. Brett Avery be appointed to that board.
Hear your motion.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion that we approve the names as read.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any that oppose? Ayes have it. Thank them all for willing to be a part. Thank them. Oh, but all of them are not here. All of them are not here. Item 9, Grow Together update on the use of neighborhood enhancement dollars. Presenter, Mr. Christopher George, Communications and Engagement Director.
Good evening, Mayor and members of council. Really excited to get to talk to y'all tonight about a new program that we're excited to unveil for our neighborhoods in the city called the Grow Together Grants Program. This was an ARPA-funded enhancement that was part of City Council's $1 million that was allocated towards neighborhood improvements. $300,000 of that was allocated to this program that will be spent over 3 years. And a little bit of an overview. It's a grant opportunity for neighborhood associations citywide for neighborhood-driven projects that focus on improving quality of life and creatively addressing community concerns. Already covered the last bit. The purpose of this, our goals are to build neighborhood capacity by uniting residents around shared goals and encourage community engagement through healthy and inclusive activities, to encourage development of neighborhood associations where they currently do not exist and strengthening them where they do exist, creating better connections between city and the communities, and also to strengthen partnerships across neighborhoods and with schools, local businesses, and nonprofits. So the purpose here, we view this as an engagement tool both within the neighborhoods and between the neighborhoods, and also between the neighborhoods and the city. So our hope is that these dollars, if neighborhood associations pursue them, they can use that internally within their neighborhoods to get more involvement. Something we hear from neighborhood associations all the time is they have difficulty getting their residents to join the neighborhood association and then to get involved in the neighborhood association. So if they're able to identify some projects that we can then support, that helps them get involvement within their communities. It also helps facilitate more communication and connectivity between us and the neighborhood associations themselves. Just by going through this process, they're going to get more familiar with our team, especially the community relations team, and we will be in more contact with them and can let them know about other things that may be going on. And part of this as well, especially with some of the larger grants we'll get into in a minute, is about encouraging the neighborhood associations to work both with other neighborhood associations, so across neighborhoods, but also with nonprofits and businesses and other organizations, schools, and things that may be present in their community. So we've got a lot of different moving parts that we think this is kind of a win-win-win. So alignment with city priorities. This aligns with our comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan actually calls for us to create something exactly like this. This is taken straight from it, create a community building micro-grant program to incentivize small-scale community events and initiatives. It also calls to fund neighborhood-scale public art. Calls for us to support cultural resources, including festivals, events, and the arts. And inclusive of that, which also recognizes that the comprehensive plan was created with equity as one of its guiding principles. The ARP ARPA census tracts, so census tracts that were designated for ARPA funding, receive extra points during the evaluation process. So every city neighborhood with a neighborhood association is eligible to apply, but you do get extra points and extra consideration if you come from one of those communities. And that's a map showing where all of the ARPA-funded census tracts are in the city. And this is just an example of some of the project opportunities that we envisioned. Obviously, art and beautification, festivals, different kinds of programming, community gardens, recreation, signage. These are things that we hear from residents often that they want. They ask about the possibility of the city investing in all the time, and we haven't really had a vehicle for these sorts of things in the past, and it's exciting to have that. Also, you know, these are things that we have thought of that are possibilities. Another thing about this is that it's open-ended enough that if a neighborhood, a community has some creative ideas that they can bring to us that we haven't considered, that's the sort of thing, you know, we'd love to learn about. You know, we'd love to have something we didn't think of here come to us. Eligibility. So must be a recognized and active neighborhood association registered with the city. So registered with our community relations office, has to be for at least a year. Must be registered with the City of Spartanburg's Neighborhood Advisory Board. We presented this to the Neighborhood Advisory Board at their most recent meeting last week. Folks were enthusiastic about the possibility. Saw a lot of folks taking notes, and we expect we'll be hearing from some people about some projects as soon as we open the application window. Obviously must be located within the city. And last, must represent a specific targeted neighborhood or geographic area. So this is neighborhood associations only representing the area in which the neighborhood boundaries are. Award tiers. So we have two different tiers aimed at sort of two different kind of mindsets here when it comes to these grants. The Tier 1 supports neighborhood association-led initiatives that aim to strengthen neighborhoods through beautification, engagement events, or pilot programs. Ideal for first-time applicants. Obviously, everybody's going to be a first-time applicant here, but what we're really getting at there is if you are a smaller neighborhood association, just getting, you know, and you are one of those neighborhoods that I mentioned earlier that has a hard time getting folks involved, you know, a small-scale project like this could be a good way for you to get your feet wet, could be a good thing for you to pitch to your residents. Tier 2, so demonstrates strong community involvement. This goes up to $25,000. Collaboration with local partners and long-term impact intended for more developed efforts focused on capacity building, public space improvements, or sustainable programming. So what we ask for those, both project tiers require a 40% match, which can be comprised of cash, volunteer hours, donated services, and/or materials. We specified that because we did not want the financial constraints to be a burden for anyone. So those volunteer hours, we suspect, will be a big driver for a lot of neighborhoods. That's going to be how they're going to make that match. But we wanted there to be a match so that the neighborhoods themselves would have buy-in and would have some investment themselves. Tier 2, that's the tier that requires a partnering organization. That's the tier that goes up to $25,000, such as another neighborhood association, a business, a nonprofit, a community group, or a faith institution. And this is about trying to stimulate those connections between neighborhoods and, you know, assets they may have nearby, or nonprofits they may not know about, businesses they may not know about or engage with. And that could build the kinds of connections that could last after a project like this goes on. I also didn't mention the Tier 1 projects must be completed within 1 year, and the Tier 2 projects must be completed within 2 years. Next steps. So info session will be held Tuesday, July 22nd at 12 p.m. and 5:30 p.m. These are information sessions regarding the grant. They are, we will be recording at least one of the sessions to make available to folks who are not able to attend. We have a scoring rubric, and we'll be making very clear to neighborhoods that if you do attend these, this will be very beneficial for you, but we'll be recording it for folks who can't make it. That will be at the fire station on Wofford Street. The applications will open July 28th and will close September 5th, and we will let the grantees know that they have won an award by the end of September. And of course, city staff will be there to assist throughout the entire process and to work with any outside organizations who may be involved as well. And I have Dr. Philip Stone here, who's president of NAB, can speak to if you have any questions regarding that. And Marilyn Nguyen here has helped an awful lot with us as well and can help answer any questions.
I'm sure we'll have more folks coming to the neighborhood association meetings from here.
That is certainly our hope. That is
No, and that's awesome that we have an opportunity to actually grant some of these funds to our particular neighborhood. Yes, sir, Councilwoman Littlejohn. Yes, ma'am, I'm sorry.
I am excited to see this, and I am hoping that this is going to bring people out, and it's going to make a positive impact in the neighborhoods. And you have explained this so well. I am happy to see as well that this is not going to be funds that's going to be used for an ice cream social or something like that. Mainly to draw people out and have a large group, but you're not getting anything done.
Yes, ma'am.
I am excited about this, and if there's anything that I can do to help, please let me know, especially in my district.
Yes.
Okay, God, please let me know.
Yes, ma'am. That was actually a big part of our thinking when it came to the event side of things. We want things that are sustainable. So exactly to your point.
Good. Question.
Mr. Mayor,
Pro Tem.
thanks for that, Christopher. The grantees, is there a grants committee that will be in this selection? And if so, is there some sort of metrics in which you are going to be scoring? On its face, ideas are great. They
Yes,
sound
ma'am.
great, but something that's measurable to base these awards.
Yes, we'll have a committee of city staff that will review this. And I neglected to go over a few of the items we actually will be considering in that. It's scope, quality, creativity of the project, community benefit, neighborhood participation, financial capability or budget, strength of the match that they bring, and completeness of the application. So that's some of the things, but we've got a rubric we'll be using to score the applications.
Chris, you said that you had a NAB association meeting for the neighborhoods. So when you present, I'm assuming you present this to them, what you have presented to us. So did you have any kind of negative feedback about the 40% match?
Dr. Stone may want to answer this, but
I didn't sense any negative feedback from anybody about that. No one actually I didn't hear anybody say that.
no, we had a couple of technical questions about it, but no, I think most of the energy in the room was pretty positive.
I think it was, and several of your neighborhood associations were there.
Right.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, Christopher, thanks to you, Marilyn, and your team for all your work on putting this together, and for Philip, you and NAB for your input. I'm pleased to see that here again, we're using our ARPA dollars to leverage additional resources. That's something that's been very important to me personally, and I think the council, as we've allocated our, $16.5 million allocation over the past and coming years. I'm curious, I think early on in your presentation, you mentioned helping to develop underdeveloped associations. I can think of several neighborhoods in my district that either have dormant associations or associations that have basically been on mothballs for the past couple of years. If I understand your presentation, that seems to leave these neighborhoods kind of behind because they haven't developed. It'd be good to see some portion of these funds used to help bring some of those associations back to life. Because I think as they start to see some of the additional resources that the city can provide, both in terms of technical assistance, but also financial support, I think that might reinvigorate some of these associations. Because I think for us as a city, and I know specifically as I think about my district, we would benefit from coalesced associations that could put together input and share that input with me, staff, council for the benefit of those neighborhoods, but also our city as a whole.
Yes, sir. That's actually been some of our talk internally has been about working with Kathy in the Community Relations Department about some of our neighborhood associations, former neighborhood associations that haven't been active in a very long time, and we have not had this kind of incentive, this kind of tool that we could present to them to encourage them to re-engage.
So obviously as NAB, or y'all thought about what a plan for that outreach could be?
Right now, it would be reaching out to the contacts that we have within those neighborhoods to let them know about the grants program itself, and then to provide the usual assistance we do. But
yeah, I just would worry that you're sort of dangling a carrot out in front of them that's over a year away, possibly. And then, you know, I mean, the other point to make there is there may be good ideas in certain neighborhoods where there's not a defined neighborhood association. So, you know, I would maybe encourage, as you think about that pool of funding, maybe to carve out some amount for neighborhood association development, whether it's a specific project that a neighborhood has without a defined neighborhood association, or some of that project assistance funding.
Pretty good question. Any other questions? Do I hear a recommendation?
It's just information.
Oh, it's information only? Oh, good. Good.
I make a motion.
No, it's only information. Ruth right there with me.
I'll make a motion to approve the information.
We appreciate the information. Now, item 10, ordinance providing for the assurance the sale for water system refunding revenue bonds of the city of Spartanburg, South Carolina, in one or more series in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $26,500,000, and other matters related unto. Mr. Kohler, city attorney, will be our presenter. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, council members. The item before you is an ordinance. This is first reading. And before I start, I think we've got some Spartanburg water folks here. If there are any hard questions, but no, I spoke to their lawyers in preparation on Friday, and they agreed to be here just in case you have any questions. But essentially, Spartanburg Water is seeking your permission, which they need by state law, to refund some bonds. As you know, Spartanburg Water System and the Spartanburg Sanitary Sewer District all operate under the big umbrella called Spartanburg Water. Spartanburg Water System they've got bonds, outstanding bonds that they are seeking to refund. What they're asking you to do is give them permission to do that. There's about $26 million in bonds from the 2015 series offering that they want to refund, borrow money in 2025, and then pay off the 2015 and go forward with that. They've done this in the past. We've had refunds looking back to 2012, 2015, 2017, and 2020. I was part of the 2020, I believe, but the other ones preceded me. But essentially, state law requires, even though they're independent, it requires the city council to approve them refunding those bonds, borrowing money to go forward. So that's it in a nutshell. I'm glad to answer any questions you all might have. The folks from Spartanburg Water, I'm sure, would be glad to add any information that I don't know.
Any questions?
Bob, just to clarify for folks in the audience and folks like Megan that are watching online, to underscore your point, this is part of a, kind of a legacy organizational structure for Spartanburg Water. The citizens of the city of Spartanburg have ownership of the Spartanburg water system, but the city of Spartanburg does not own the Spartanburg water system. So this is just a technical pass-through that, as you said, doesn't obligate the city from any standpoint of our general funds or any of our other resource funds that we have available to us.
That's exactly right. This was envisioned back in 1998. There was an ordinance that was enacted by city council that envisioned that bonds then could be refunded and re-upped with series bonds going forward. And as I've said, we've done it in 2012 and those couple years after that. And yes, you're absolutely right. By state law and by this ordinance, all of the payments shall come from operating revenue of the Spartanburg water system, which is wholly independent of the city.
And they have their own elected governance system.
Correct.
Exactly.
Of which the mayor participates in.
Correct, that's exactly right. Spartanburg Water System has a board of commissioners, Spartanburg Sanitary Sewer District also has a board of commissioners. They've got their own budget, their own lawyers, their own employees. They are wholly separate from the city of Spartanburg as far as their own public works commission.
And for those in the audience or watching online, if your street has been ripped up because of the new sewer improvements, you go to that organization, Guy Bull, his team, and those elected officials.
If you call us, we'll direct you to Spartanburg Water, and those folks are very good at handling those requests.
For the record, I'm happy to do that, but I just wanted to make sure everybody.
Any other questions, I'm glad to answer them.
Hearing no question, guys.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the ordinance.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any that oppose? Ayes have it. Item 11, Morgan Square and Downtown Project Updates. Mr. Story, on the hot seat.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have a number of recommendations to make tonight and updates to provide about our rapidly changing downtown. We are, as has been well communicated throughout the community and the region beyond, we are experiencing a wave of new investment, the likes of which downtown Spartanburg has never seen, even with inflation-adjusted dollars. We have a substantial amount of projects that will begin construction over the next number of months, and I want to talk about the interrelations of several of those, and again, make some recommendations to you all, some of which I fully recognize may not be popular with some folks in the short term, but it's my obligation to this community to make the recommendations that I think will serve the community best in the long run. What I would start with is just an overview of the three principal topics I'm going to cover. Upcoming major projects impact and their impact on surface parking. As we introduce the topic of parking in our downtown, we've had third-party analysis, and we know from direct evidence that there is ample parking in downtown Spartanburg. And several of the major projects that are in the offing include additional structured parking. However, there is going to be a transition in the next 6 months or so, as some folks who are accustomed to parking in surface lots will have to support their transition to parking in structured parking. But overall, the supply of parking is growing, and the numbers are well in excess of what comparable analysis would indicate is necessary and appropriate for the scale of our community and our size. But I want to talk about the impact on surface parking, the timing of those, and some strategies that we're working on to support that transition so it's minimally disruptive to downtown visitors, downtown residents, and downtown businesses particularly. I want to talk a little bit about the optimal timing of the Morgan Square enhancements. My thoughts tonight about Morgan Square will be focused solely on the timing of it. I know that there may be other questions relevant to the council. We can explore those, but the impetus for inclusion of that as a topic tonight is to focus on when does it make sense to execute this project in light of all of the other changes that are coming our way. Some of the things that are contributing to the bright future for downtown Spartanburg are fully within the city's control. Morgan Square enhancements might be one of those things. A number of the other major factors involve a lot of other parties. Just this year, we brought online Fifth Third Park, a major new amenity. It took an extensive array of partners to make that happen. We are working on Joint Government Center, which will be a beautiful new building on Church Street with about 1,000 car parking facilities, including some underground parking and structured parking there, that is being done in deep partnership with the county. Much of the wave of private development, of course, involves city participation and private development participation. So as we think about timing, you got a lot of stakeholders and parts of these timelines that are not in our direct control, but then some small subset of it is in our direct control. So I will focus our attention there. And finally, I want to talk about the clock tower, which has already been mentioned tonight, and the Main Street at Spring Street intersection, and how that relates to some of these other changes. This is an aerial image looking a little bit south. So you've got Morgan Square and toward the bottom, and then the row of the sort of the historic blocks of Morgan Square there, Broad Street, and then this aerial image shows the former City Hall, which has now been demolished in that block just above where it says Broad Street on the image. I use this to get a sense of scale of the shift in surface parking to structured parking that we're going to be working through. These are the locations that currently involve some surface parking, which are going to begin redevelopment within the next, this fall, at different times this fall. And that is a substantial amount of change in proximity to Morgan Square. Those projects include, as I previously mentioned, if you sort of move from the upper left, I'll start there. Those two shapes, rectangles that you see there are the surface parking that is part of what we have often referred to as the City Hall block. The City Hall block will initiate, some demolition has already occurred, some utility work is underway, but heavy construction will begin this fall on a full block redevelopment of that block. It will involve Joint Government Center facility, as has been discussed, a 970, I believe it is, parking stall, parking structure, some of which will be underground, and then some restaurant retail space and some apartment space rounding out the block. Moving to the right on the image, those next two rectangles are part of basically the front half, the Broad Street frontage of that block will begin construction within several months on a mixed-use redevelopment, which includes its own parking structure in the interior of the block. Neither of those parking structures I mentioned will be visible from the Broad Street. They'll be sort of interior to those blocks. But that's a predominantly residential project there. The two just below those are areas of surface parking that'll be impacted by a full block redevelopment of the Herald Journal block. That includes some exciting new additions to the downtown, including a hotel with a full-service restaurant on the ground floor corner and a rooftop bar and pool area and an office building and an event venue within that block redevelopment there. Just wanted to provide that background, all of those projects to be initiated sometime over the next 6 months, and we'll have different scales. So I have directed staff, and we are working on ways to support the transition ensure that we don't diminish quality of life for downtown visitors and restaurants and retailers during this transition. They are all of the businesses on the square are well aware of these many changes and frankly bullish for what they mean for the long term, but everyone is naturally wary of the transition. And so during that time, we want to take all reasonable steps that we can on behalf of the city to help their customers and others make the transition smoothly. So my first two recommendations on this slide relate to that. We would like your endorsement of moving forward with subsidized valet service adjacent to Morgan Square, and some shuttle service from the garages to the destinations on the square. We think that's important to help folks get accustomed to the location, convenience, and safety of our parking garages that are very close. We have had many nights that have been very, very busy in downtown Spartanburg, record crowds in our downtown, and still had additional capacity in our parking garages on those same nights, right? So that means that there is a behavior pattern issue that we need to intervene to try to move past, and we think that some combination of valet and shuttle services is the best to do that. And this third recommendation may be the one that will disappoint some, but I believe it's frankly the right thing to recommend, and that is to delay implementation of the Morgan Square construction project until we get on the other side of this this transition away from surface parking. I don't mean until we get to the other side of having all the new parking, ready and available for use. I mean the period of transition, which is going to stress our businesses. We believe that if we take the right steps, and we're preparing this summer to make those steps, if we take the right steps this fall, we'll be able to have people's patterns, behavior patterns change, and we'll be able to get to the other side of it in good shape. But we think adding to that the tearing up of the square that'll be necessary to achieve the vision for the new square would add an additional degree of complication. And since that is one variable that we are solely in control of, when I say we, I mean the city council is in control of, it seems to staff that it would be reasonable to time that project at a different schedule than to add both front door and back door changes at the same time. So those are the three recommendations I have that relate to parking and the timing of the main Morgan Square project. I can keep rolling to my next slide, or I can take any questions now, or whatever you prefer.
Put it all in, or you want to?
No,
Let's break it
down.
And I want to know about the mitigation with the strategy of the valet services and the shuttle services. Will there be a cost factor that we would have to
Yes, ma'am.
get
Yes,
bids or whatever? And then will that be in place after all the constructions and the
I think as far as whether that's a permanent addition to our downtown, but we've experimented with some of these types of things before, and I would tell you that that we will need to evaluate based on utilization going forward as to what hours of service and whether these services continue after this transition period or not. I would suggest that we'd like to gather data from both users and from businesses on the square to make those decisions and adjust as we go and find what works and expand on it, and what's not working, trying different strategies.
Councilwoman Littlejohn.
Yes, Chris, I am concerned about how this is going to affect the merchants down. You know, if we do this now, I'm concerned that it's going to affect their businesses, and I am in favor of number 3 right now, you know, delaying everything. Okay, those are my thoughts, and I may be in the minority up here, but, you know, those are my thoughts, because I do think that this is going to affect, you know, the businesses downtown because of all of the things that are taking place down there. It's a lot that is taking place, and it's a lot that's going to come. And so, those are just my thoughts, you know, delay.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Mr. Mayor, I think you're making a recommendation on all 3, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, and I want to preface this before I get into my questions and comments, but you mentioned earlier, you know, that all of this has not really been within our direct control, and I completely disagree. I mean, we have been dragging this out for several years, and it is a point of frustration. I think everyone has a right to be frustrated, our business owners, our residents. We have just been moving at a snail's pace, and I genuinely, whether it's from a budgetary standpoint, we could have had this project done. We could have moved forward with this prior to the baseball stadium starting. I mean, it's just so extremely frustrating. And I just want to just say that publicly, because I know that you hear from me all the time and probably are tired of hearing from me, but I do, you know, I'm just beyond frustrated. We've, you know, all of these conversations started back during COVID. And, you know, we put a committee together to, you know, who gave their time and efforts and expertise and energy and had them do the work for us, only for us to continue to be like, well, now it's too late, et cetera. So I'm extremely frustrated, and I just want that to be known. That said,
About Morgan Square.
Yes.
That's what, okay, just want to.
Because it should, in my opinion,
Yeah.
It should be done. We should
Okay.
be rocking and rolling on the square.
Okay, right.
Your slide back with the yellow, the offline, how many is that in total parking spots? I mean, I know we can see the, you know, but how many would that be approximately?
I believe it's around 275.
Okay. And so I'm hopeful with the recommendations for the valet, but did we not try this also during COVID?
I think we did. We have experimented with valet before, yes,
So
ma'am.
I'm hopeful. I'm skeptical because we've tried this before, but I'm hopeful. And my hope is that maybe there can continue to be some behavior education so that folks will utilize that service and just not come downtown, because this will have a huge impact on our downtown businesses. And then my other question with respect to the surface parking that are going offline, are we going to look at places to expand handicap spaces? Because those will be going away too, I assume, of these lots?
Yes, and there we have, you know, there is a lot of surface parking going away. It's not all the surface parking, and there is some parking that we can repurpose to add some handicap spaces, but that is also part of the goal with the shuttle and valet, is to add convenience for folks who have mobility issues as well.
Okay. And then last question to that particular part of your presentation, what is the timeline you're looking at? You mentioned that it's not, you know, all of these projects to be completed before we can resume you know, working on, you know, continuing to look at the design of the square and putting that before council, but what is the timeline for that, do you anticipate, guesstimate?
I would envision that we will know, you know, after the holiday season of this year, we'll know if we have successfully helped folks make this transition.
Chris, you know, I can appreciate the complex mosaic that goes into downtown planning, particularly as it relates to our central core with everything else that's going on. And I think we all as a community are sharing some level of frustration, because if we could wave a magic wand, we would have just done it, right? But I have a different perspective a little bit, in the sense that, you know, since we began this process, you know, we did form a committee. That committee did diligent work over a long period of time that sought out community input, that engaged with all relevant stakeholders, found us a design team, and they delivered us with recommendations over that period of time that give us a general blueprint for how we design the square going forward. So, you know, while I'm frustrated that it has taken this long, it's taken this long. And so, you know, we've gotten to this point, and maybe we're dragging our feet a little bit at the beginning of this year because of various factors, but it also has allowed us an opportunity to see from opening day forward the impact of Fifth Third Park and the Spartanburgers and how it changes the mosaic of our downtown. So, you know, I think we've gotten some valuable learnings in that time. And this slide strikes me because if you look, you say it's about 275 parking spaces, but it really is all of the surface level parking in our downtown. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, this visual strikes me because if you know, shade all areas under construction in red, including Morgan Square, you've choked the life out of downtown from behind, and you've choked the life out of Morgan Square from the front. So, you know, that doesn't seem like that's in the best interest, to Ruth's point, of the existing merchants. You know, and I think to Erica's point, you know, I like the idea of some of these enhanced improvements that we're going to subsidize. But hopefully we've learned from the learnings of those experiments that we did during COVID that didn't work. Yep. And we can improve on that so that it is a real viable service for the citizens of our region who enjoy our downtown, because really we're driving them to the Magnolia Parking Street garage and to some degree the Dunbar Street parking garage. And so we need to make sure, whether it's additional streetscape improvements on Church Street from crosswalk enhancements and things like that, as well as some of these other enhancements, make sure that that's as convenient as possible, because we are trying to change behavior, but we've forced it in a way that makes it very inconvenient. So I think, you know, I would like to make sure that we do everything we can to mitigate that impact. But it makes sense to me, as frustrating as it is, that you not do all of this at once, because I think, quite frankly, it will stunt our growth in our restaurant inventory, and I think it would you know, negatively impact those businesses that have already invested substantially in downtown. And so, you know, the other aspect of this, I think Erica might be more optimistic than I am on our sources of funding, but I still have concerns, at least up until this point, whether or not we have the available capacity, given all the other things that we're trying to take on to pay for this. And if this delay maybe gives us the opportunity to find some additional sources of potential funding, you know, all of that seems to me, as frustrating as it is, to be a good thing. So, you know, as much as we all wish we didn't have to look at it this way, I think this is the only practical approach in moving forward as it relates to timetable and parking and that kind of thing.
Councilwoman Sally.
Well, I am for the extension of timing. I'm also with Jamie's, Councilman Fulmer's suggestion taking everything down at one time, it's gonna be difficult, because, but you're saying the fall of 2025, and I'm assuming you're talking about late fall, and that way you can take some of them down at one point and then the rest of it later on. I'm assuming that's what you're going to do. As far as the budgeting part of it, I would hate to see that we're asking our citizens to help us pay for valet parking or shuttle service when we're doing this ourselves, is locking it down.
Yes, ma'am, and we are, some of the, I kind of oversimplified by some of the lots on that are part of different development agreements that, so there are aspects of it that are private development that are now currently available for public use, but we believe that we can figure out a way to work with downtown businesses and the destinations, their timing, that type of thing, to have a fair and equitable way of dealing with the shuttle and valet service. The important thing is to ensure that the potential customers and the current customers of those businesses don't conflate construction with, construction on adjacent blocks with inability to use those restaurants, because that won't be the case. We will do what it takes to make sure that's not the case.
And I think you made a comment, Chris, which I appreciate, when we're closing off the back door, but we don't want to close out the front door as well when we speak of Morgan Square to our retail and restaurants downtown. As we see an uptick with more businesses coming to downtown, we definitely don't want to put a pause in what is going on. It alarms me some that when you put those yellow rectangles and squares up there, wow, that's a lot of parking. That's a lot of parking that's going offline to our citizens here and to visitors downtown. But again, someone mentioned just re-educating our folks about the opportunity with parking decks. I don't quite know how the shuttle will work. Do I have to wait on this shuttle? We go park, Shay and I just sit on the curb, what's going on? How do we get the shuttle to come pick us up, or the valet, So, and I'm sure we're working on that, but agree with the time factor and again, not affecting everything, closing both doors all at once. So, and I know it does help us with the opportunity to finance Morgan Square with a little bit more time and possibly monies coming from other places that I'm sure we will explore. So thank you for that information. Go ahead.
The other thing, Mr. Mayor, just as we're sitting here pondering this one slide, I mean, if you this is a quick math that I've done with bad eyes, but it probably leaves around maybe 50 surface street parking spots in and around downtown.
There would be more. I zoomed in on these locations because,
Right, but I'm just taking the unshaded areas and knowing what I know about, that streetscape. If it's 50, that's probably generous. So that's a pretty dramatic impact and mindset change. So we really need to be diligent about communicating that and making it convenient, because the one thing we want to do is continue to build on the momentum and bring people downtown to enjoy all that we have to offer, because we are, experiencing a true renaissance in our downtown area. And so, in our efforts to improve on that and build on that momentum, we don't want to kill it.
And also, Chris, while I think about it, don't we have a team at the city that's engaging with downtown?
Yes, sir. I mean, we have series of meetings with downtown businesses. We have our ambassadors out every day, and we're spreading the word and making sure communication is working in both directions on a regular basis, and trying to keep that going. And we also have, although not, outside of the scope of this image, the new parking facility at Fifth Third Park is 2 blocks and will be free and open to the public on non-game hours. So that creates a little bit of addition, or not a little bit, it's twice the size of all the surface parking spaces. And, there's some other things that we will be able to share good information on if folks are not wanting to use shuttles or valets. We will have options for them, and we'll do a better and more thorough job of highlighting those options.
Okay. And Mr. Mayor, just 2 final points to wrap my thoughts around this part of the topic. The city-county complex, the garage there, I know I've expressed to you, assuming it starts in the late fall, I hope that we will do everything we can as everything wraps around it, including the complex itself, that we do everything we can to get that facility open as quickly as possible. I know that parking garages can go up faster than regular buildings, and this may have added complexities because of the wrap, but as much or as little as we can get that facility open as quickly as possible, that ought to be a top priority. The other thing, I see Steve out in the audience. I mean, we're making his job a lot harder, and the job of him and our other downtown ambassadors, and so, one, continue to thank them for all their hard work, but let's look at that group and see if, we need to make any changes to enhance them and support them, because this, we will rely, as we always have since their creation, on them to keep our downtown friendly and welcoming.
All right, let's move
Mr.
on.
Mayor, if you're ready, I'll
Yes, sir.
move on to the next here. This aerial focuses in closer on the Main and Spring intersection. Of course, the primary feature of this is about a 6,500 square foot landscape median that sits in Main Street that contains the clock tower. You heard a little bit earlier tonight about some of the history of the clock tower. The only addition I'll make to the history of the clock tower is to remind everyone that the reason why we have a clock tower element was to celebrate and harken back to the original town clock, which was an architectural feature of the seat of local government in the square, which is a building that was adjacent to, was in that area, and it was an effort to bring back that element to our downtown, and the physical arrangement that you see there was a product of, in fact, you can still see the curve of the Herald Journal parking lot. When the Main Street was fully pedestrianized, the traffic would flow to this point here, and then swoop around to Broad Street, and that left the sort of atypical curved shape you see there, and created the condition that allowed for this large landscape island. Before I leave this image, I'll point out a couple of other things that I'll reference as we go forward. Note the length of the crosswalks there, and our objective, of course, in our downtown area is to prioritize pedestrians and usable public spaces. And one of the attributes of the current condition is that you have to have a signalized intersection there, even though traffic volumes don't warrant it because of the geometry, because of the large landscape island for vehicles and pedestrians to safely get along. You have to have the push buttons and traffic signals there. And so those are factors that I'll touch on in just a minute. So I'll come back to this image when and if there are questions about the physical layout. These are the goals that staff has as it relates to this discussion. And I recognize that you've already heard in public comment some that are not on board with some of the key changes, but I at least want to carefully walk through the rationale. Our goals for this are to prioritize pedestrians and usable public spaces where people gather. Secondly, it's to allow the new building facades to align with the historic block. If one were to stand in front of the AC Hotel and the sidewalk there, and walk to the historic section of Main Street, and say Sophia's Restaurant, that would be the first that you would encounter of the historic blocks. From an urban design perspective, all parties would have consistently recommended, and even at different points in the study of our own downtown, that the building facades should align to create the pedestrian experience and the cohesive downtown. And that's hard to do with the physical layout we have right now. The third is to enable some engagement with the bell and the other remaining unique historic elements. It has been, Don's in the room and he's seen it because he's been up there. And Christopher George has been up there because he took some pictures, but I believe they might be the only two people in the room who've been up in the tower. I could be wrong, but to see the original elements that were part of the original, that we were preserving with that, and I think that presents an opportunity that I would encourage us to explore. And fourth is to appropriately, since we have a new building project very similar in its public purposes to what gave us the original town clock, to appropriately recognize that history with the architecture of the Joint Government Center. So I'm going to talk about those things there. This is one of the pictures that Christopher took when he climbed up in the tower of the original mechanics of the clock there that was taken out of, I think Don said, and I suspect he's correct, in 1958 it was taken down, or maybe Wesley says 1958 it was taken out of government building and then placed in storage for a while and then put back in the clock tower. I think it presents an opportunity to make that part of an interactive thing that our children could have access to. That's just another look at another piece of there. Perhaps disappointing to some, these elements are not part of supporting the current clock faces due to some mechanical issues and failure. But we believe they represent assets that could be utilized more positively. And this is the bell that, again, was taken from the original local seat of local government structure that exists there and could be refurbished and brought down. And this, of course, is the image that you all have seen of the proposed new seat of local government in Spartanburg that would exist on Church Street. And you see that the design team there has decided to celebrate and celebrate the town clock as a primary architectural feature of that new structure there. And just to give you a full sense of what a landmark that's going to be, this is if you're standing at the corner of Main and Church, which is the center crossroads of our downtown. It will become a postcard icon image of our downtown, very similar to the original town clock that was the inspiration for the clock tower construction effort. So those thoughts lead me to recommend these actions to you as it relates to this. Remove the large landscape island in the clock tower. We believe that is best for the next wave of downtown development to allow the building faces of the developed Herald Journal block to align and have a coherent, straight main street. Second is to convert the multi-phase signalized intersection, the sort of elongated intersection, to a pedestrian-friendly four-way stop. I'd encourage you to spend a few minutes on a busy Friday evening watching the pedestrian movements in that area as I have. And because we believe it can move a lot more simply for both vehicles and pedestrians, being made a tight, conventional four-way stop intersection. I'd recommend to you that we make an accessible public exhibit of the historic elements that are up in the tower. And finally, as appears to, as is moving forward from prior decisions at city and county level, incorporate a clock tower as a permanent architectural feature of the new joint government center. I recognize that collectively represents a change, but I believe that the combined impact of those four recommendations will strengthen our downtown, celebrate our history in a fully accurate way, and position us to have one of the best main streets in America and one of the best local government facilities that again appropriately recognizes its history. I'll pause there and see what questions or comments you might have.
Questions, comments?
I have a question. Chris, when you say incorporate a clock tower as prominent, are you suggesting a new clock tower, or are you suggesting removing the current clock tower and incorporating it into this new building?
Yeah, I was referring to that right there. Because
so
folks
there's
may,
nothing other than the pieces of equipment that are currently in the tower now that are non-functioning. There's nothing of the current clock tower that would move to the new building other than the historical, glass, whatever, display, I think is what you're thinking.
that's correct.
So the current clock tower would just be done.
Yes, that's what I'm recommending. And again, the original clock that the clock tower harkens back to and celebrates was similarly the prominent visible it was of its time architecturally, but it was very similar in nature to what you see here, in that it sat on the front of the government structure. So again, we think it's consistent with the history that was in place from the late 1800s through the middle of the last century, if it, you know, it's different than what we've known for the last 50 years, but it is very, very consistent with what we knew for the first 70 years that we had a town clock.
But the current clock and equipment would be on display somewhere, used as a historic piece that, you know, the children can learn from. Help me.
Yes, sir. That's what I would recommend. Yes, sir.
Councilman Flynn.
Mr. Mayor, first of all, I probably speak for the mayor in saying that that's the first time that my name on a plaque has been described as a unique historic element. So I guess that's indicative of my age. You know, and as the mayor, I mean, you know, there was a sense of great pride as a school, you know, first grader at Pine Street Elementary School, saving, you know, our lunch money to scrap up pennies and coins to contribute to that effort, because it was a community effort. And so, you know, I think, you know, as Mr. Eubanks pointed out, that, you know, I've long held that it was my desire and fervent hope that the clock tower not move. I'm also cognizant that sometimes change is hard, and also aware, I've been around long enough to know that this is, you know, the clock tower has moved before, and we've moved different things. Daniel Morgan, good gosh, I mean, you know, the general's been moved around a good bit over the years, and that's just progress, right? You know, and I think, you know, the important piece of this to me is that we properly celebrate, you know, the significance of not only the original clock tower, not only the bell that was in the original clock tower, but also the effort around the, I guess it was the bicentennial, to recognize and that significant achievement for our country, but also a community effort. So I've in the year and a half since we first started talking about it, you know, kind of reconciled the need for the clock tower to move exists. And if you'll go back a couple of slides, I know you talked about the importance of, go back to the streetscape slide. I know you've talked about the importance of the four-way stop, and if anybody that's been around downtown, I mean, you know, it's a lazy river of pedestrians that go through that stretch of roads, because they come at you from every direction. But not just that, and not just alignment with the historical block, but if you look at I wish you'd had the plans for the new hotel, but in order to build a hotel that maximizes that property, you know, I'm not an architect, but you really need the full pointed four corners, because if you leave it like it is, I think more than anybody would appreciate, significantly shrinks the size of the buildable area on that lot, if I'm not mistaken. I think that was one of the things that was presented when we saw this originally, or was talked about. So that's another element that's added to this. You know, I think what, you know, you know, I would love to see an appropriate place for the clock tower to be moved where all of those elements that I mentioned could be celebrated. You know, and I can, you know, take a visual tour in my mind around Spartanburg, and I think there are places where it might fit, where it might be a good prominent feature that can still achieve that celebration. I think where I'm struggling with your recommendation is really, I hear what you're saying about properly and prominently, you know, celebrating it, but I don't know what that means. I mean, are you talking about some sort of, you know, some sort of treatment like the Southside Cultural Monument that would be inside the new facility in terms of, you know, visual boards of historic, you know, elements and that kind of thing, with the display of mine and the mayor's name, which is very important to us? Or are you talking about something that's outside that facility and or exactly what? Because I think that would help people understand what you're talking about. Because if it's just a plaque on the wall in the city-county complex, you know, that doesn't sound appealing to me. If it's just a, you know, a bell and some workings of a clock and a plaque on the wall, hopefully with our name in it, you know, I don't know that chins the bar either. So, you know, I think understanding exactly what that means would help me become more comfortable with what you're recommending. But I'd also like to see, you know, what thoughts, you know, we could come up with about, you know, what if we just wanted to move it? where would we move it? What would that look like? Because it is important to people. And what, the irrespective of the history of the bell and the clock, the tower, has, as we age, 50 years has some level of historic significance. So, I think we need to take that into consideration either as we move it or as we celebrate it in the new facility.
I add to Councilman Former's comments that it is truly significant, and this is not just an easy move for any of us up here, and I'm sure there's other people in the audience that name may be presented in the clock tower. So, and I know we have had conversations. I know Councilman Former and I have had conversations about where could we actually place the clock and the bell in a particular area, just somewhere within the city. So those concerns are still with us, as I do understand the alignment of the street as well, as we talk about the urban design and with everything coming downtown. Change is hard. Change is very hard, but it's also necessary to make better use of the facility in our downtown. So, Chris, I do appreciate the time and the effort that you and staff have put into this presentation, and for the people that are here, we do appreciate you coming and lending your support for or against what may be happening, but your voices are truly heard, and it does mean something to each and every one of us that sits here on this council. But again, I was privy to the option of the new city-county joint complex some time ago, and I thought it was great to put the clock there where it originally went to the governmental center, when it was put at City Hall the first time around. So to put it back on that facility, I think is a great gesture to the historic piece of our original clock tower. So I'm still in favor of that, and I really do appreciate the county folks agreeing that is possible. So, Chris, thank you for your information. Any other questions? Any other comments?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
So, putting a delay to kind of summarize, this is not a vote, this is information only,
Right.
recommendations that you're making. But I want to be clear to folks that are here about this timeline, and the recommendations that you're making have zero to do with the design itself of Morgan Square.
That's correct. What we are discussing is timeline. There may be additional design questions, and there may be additional financial questions that would need to be worked through related to Morgan Square.
And I understand the financial implications, but I want, folks to understand that this has nothing to do with, the work that the committee has done is appreciated.
Yep.
I want to continue to, have their recommendations on the back burner as we look ahead once we continue the designs. I think I shared this back in December when I first saw, the first renderings. I'm not doing cartwheels over it. There are still tweaks that I would like to see, but I want to be very clear that the design is the communities and the communities alone, and the residents of the city of Spartanburg, and that there are no entities that are going to be involved with changing. Those will be the will of council, along with the recommendations of, community members.
Mayor, I just want to say that, historically, it's important to make sure that we keep what's been placed in our lives. And the clock tower is great, but the other integral parts, as the bell, has a full history, and it should be exposed in an area that the public can see and be pleased with. I agree with everyone on the council as far as the timeline is concerned, the issues of the Spring Street Main, and yeah, it's difficult because I have gone through those lights, and it's not a pleasant thing to walk through. But I appreciate the recommendations.
Go ahead, Jim.
I was just gonna make one final comment on, dovetailing on that as we've had these conversations, I think one of the underappreciated aspects of the clock tower and its history, has been the various elements. I mean, I look at it as something that we raise money for as school children, and it was found in an old, courthouse or city hall facility. But as you explore the history of the bell and the workings of the clock, I mean, there's more to the history that we can explore. And so I think this is an opportunity to dig deeper on that, and I think that's exciting. The other question I had, Chris, we've talked about the delay of this, the Morgan Square core elements. This is a different piece because of the timing of the related construction around it and the needed streetscape improvements therein. So what is the timeline for at least the initial phase of beginning to remove the clock tower and because even if we move it, it would have to be significantly rebuilt. So, moving it begins when? Moving it or recreating it or repositioning, whatever we want to call it.
I don't envision any physical activity occurring in the next several months, but I think we need to bring to resolution this summer what the path forward is.
So you would have as you had mentioned earlier, more of a concrete plan of recommendations of what to do with it?
Yes.
Are we not able to actually just relocate? I mean, they move houses all the time. Like, is it not? Because I would like to see something more than a replica of the clock tower in the county city building. If there is a replica of that in the city county building, I think we still need to maintain the original piece in some way.
Yeah.
Was the original moved when it moved from Liberty and Maine, or was it basically just moved and largely rebuilt?
I don't, I'm not 100% sure how much, I think it was described publicly as being moved, but I know that there was some physical work.
We can have that discussion afterwards, guys. We don't allow, let's get control, order, guys. We don't allow the comments. We are more than welcome to have the conversation with you afterwards that we can get some of these questions answered. Thank you for your knowledge, though.
Thank you, Chris.
Okay.
Anything else?
We'll keep working.
All right. Thank you. Where are we, Morgan? Staff updates. You want to go first?
Mr. Mayor, this is one of the nights my wife would say I've said enough when it comes to staff updates. But I do want to just to call out a couple things. One, I really want to thank the special events team and the whole Parks and Rec and special event folks, downtown ambassadors, public works crews, police and fire for a really terrific and busy events season that concluded with Red, White, and Boom, which had a massive crowd and was a successful night. And just lots of folks worked really hard to make those events happen. And at the same time, many of those folks were moving their offices. I should highlight that city offices, primary city offices, are at 295 East Main Street. We are no longer at 187 West Broad, again relating to some of the downtown changes we've talked about tonight. And that move has gone very smooth from most perspectives. I will tell you, we're still tweaking. With any move, you learn things and you tweak things. But kudos to Kevin, to Tony McAbee, to Frank Wilson in particular, Jay Squires, a bunch of other folks that really went above and beyond to get that move done without, I think services were interrupted to the public for just a handful of hours. Our final move will come in a couple years when we move into the building we were just looking at, and then we'll get all of our office staff under one roof. But in the process of this move, we've been able to create a little additional space for planning and codes at 440 South Church Street, which is making it so there's some benefit to them as well. So just want to thank the team for their patience and diligence with all of that.
All right, thank you. Thank you, sir. Councilwoman Littlejohn.
I want to congratulate Kathy Hill on her recent honor, and she looked so pretty in the pictures. I could not believe that she was looking so beautiful. Congratulations, Kathy Hill. And, and then I want, I am having computer problems, and I have had computer problems since I got my new city laptop. You know, the old saying, if you have something that is working good, where you keep it. Well, I wanted a new laptop because everybody else was getting a new laptop. and I've had problems ever since I got my new laptop. So if you send me an email to my city, I want you to know that I cannot always respond to you. So please include a phone number so I can contact you some kind of way to let you know that I am trying to respond. But if you do not have a phone number attached, I cannot get back to you. So I am having problems, and I would not want a new something just because somebody else is getting it the next time. I'll stay with my old. And then I was, I don't know if you all knew Hardy, but I don't know why he came to my mind this week. A great man that, you know, got the kudzu that you see that is taking over our city. Nuke Hardy took care of that, and I mean, he did a fantastic job, and I hope he's someplace in heaven and there is no kudzu there. I want to congratulate, well, not congratulate, there is going to be a county sheriff forum that's going to be on Tuesday, July the 15th, tomorrow. It's going to be at C.C. Woodson, and I think those times are from 6 to 8. So if you can go out, it's a lot of guys that's running for sheriff. I hope we get a good one in there. Okay, another good one, I mean. Okay, and then... Go ahead. And there's a lot of gun violence that is taking place among the young people, and I am so concerned about that. And I encourage you all, if you leave guns in your car, lock your doors. Lock your doors. And parents, if you have guns in your homes, I want you to make sure that those guns are put away safely, because we are losing a lot of young people, and I am saddened by that. I am saddened. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you for those comments. Councilwoman Sallin.
Yes, Mayor. I want to say to the Parks and Recreation, to the city of Spartanburg, you guys tired me out in the month of June. I mean, you know, I didn't have one life, and I think I put it into 9 lives. But all the events was very nice that I did attend, and I didn't get down to the Fifth Third Park, but I did see the fireworks from off the street, and it was nice. Thank you all for coming, and hope to see you all again real soon, and enjoy your summer.
Councilman Foreman.
Yeah, and as Janie said, and of course, as former Councilman Rain would want us to thank everybody for coming. But more importantly, thank you for the engagement on issues of importance in our community. We really appreciate, you know, having you here, hearing your voices, and learning perspectives that maybe we haven't thought about, as a council, and hearing from our constituents is extremely important. So whether it's in this forum or through emails, or meetings, calls, whatever, thank you for participating in the life of our community. We really appreciate it.
Good. Mayor Pro Tem.
Mr. Mayor, I had an opportunity Saturday to attend the Jim and Nick's barbecue soft opening. Fantastic barbecue, I have to say. I skirted a little bit off of my summer diet just to indulge a little bit, and it was fantastic. I think their ribbon cutting is this Wednesday, so they will be open for business. They're located in front of the Best Buy on the west side of town. I don't know how that building went up so quickly, but it was really fast, and it seems like they've had a really good turnout for their soft opening. So continue to support your local businesses. Shout out to Steve. Saw you in the Downtown Ambassadors video. Thank you for all that you do. I had an opportunity to just kind of scan through a lot of the comments, and everyone just adores you. So everyone loves Steve. Thank you for what you do for the city. I see David Summers. Welcome to Spartanburg. David is the new CEO of the Northside Development Group, so we're happy to have you. We plucked him out of Louisiana, so we're really happy to have you and work with you on our continued mission of affordable housing and equity, and look forward to meeting with you and sitting one-on-one and talking about our goals. So thank you all for coming.
Awesome. Thank you. And to the folks, Ms. Branch, Eubanks, Mr. Eubanks, Mr. Stoddard, and Mr. Bramlin, thank you guys for that piece of history. And we are open to hear more about the clock tower, as you've heard, and we just wanted to make sure we kept order. I agree totally with Ms. Littlejohn about the gun violence. I did release a statement a week ago today about the gun violence in our community, and it's something that we definitely have to have a conversation about. We are in the process of planning some meetings with the local school districts, as well as the faith-based community and just community leaders and everyday people as to what we can do to help our young people navigate this violent episode that we seem to be having here in Spartanburg and across, the country. So, but we want to be first in what we do. Ms. Littlejohn, I don't think you can return emails correctly, right? You can't return
That's
email.
right. I cannot return. I can receive, but
Right.
I cannot return.
And you can see I have an old iPad. I didn't upgrade to the new.
I should have stayed
Should have
with my
stayed
old
with me. Follow the mayor. You'll be okay. And to everyone, really, we do appreciate you all being here and being informed as to what is happening here within the city of Spartanburg. Thank you all for coming. Do I hear a recommendation?
I move that we go into executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any that oppose? Ayes have it. Executive session. Thank you all for coming.
Hey, Kristen.
We finished sooner than I thought.